Again, welcome to our open evening for the Generative Citizens Programme, which is this very nice little 7 evening, or wherever you are in the world, little 2-hour classes over 7 weeks, derived from the principles from the generative change work by Robert Dilts and Stephen Gilligan that they've been presenting sort of all over the world for the last, I don't know how many years actually, 10 maybe, 10 years, something like that. And it's an amazing piece of work that they put together. If you know Robert Dilts and you know Stephen Gilligan, they've been at the forefront of personal, professional development through NLP, through self-relations, through creative mind, through success factor modeling. You know, they are really, extraordinary developers of tools and approaches for people to heal and to grow and to bloom and thrive. And they've each put in 40 years. You know, they were 2 of the original students in the student group at Santa Cruz in California in the 70s. And they slightly went their different ways. And now they've come back together and sort of collaborated in this incredibly complementary way from their amazing experiences of really just training at the highest levels all over the world. I mean, they've both got most extraordinary track records of achievement and success. Anyway, so generative change is the kind of overall field that they have developed. And it's really kind of powerful principles and powerful skills and tools. And I've done the generative change, the generative coaching program because we hosted it in London about 3 times. But also, of course, for those of you that know me, I'm also a master trainer in NLP in London and have been working with NLP for 30+ years. So, and I've always wanted to, and indeed have done, always tried to sort of slant my NLP towards benefit and service to others. You know, how can we help make our contribution into the world, you know, to make the world a better place, all of those kinds of things. And certainly before this in the NLP field, I have a project with Judith, which is called Passion in Action, which was about, you know, creating NLP approaches and tools for people who wanted to make a positive difference in the world. And so this is kind of a similar kind of thing. In a way, a lot of the certifications and the programs in the generative change movement, they're all amazing, but they're all really for professionals. And I wanted to put something together for sort of everyday life, you know, working from generative skills and principles just every day with yourself, with your family, with your neighbors, you know, with the people you meet at the bus stop, but doing it, working to live in a skillful way with the opportunity to bring your own sort of unique creativity as well into the world, see the opportunities, seize the opportunities, have a kind of readiness to bring something positive into life in the day-to-day. And so for me, I don't really know where this will go. My idea has been to put together 5 practices, and the 5 practices to work together in this kind of rather magical, emergent kind of way, you know, so that we don't really know what's going to come out of this, but we do know that we'll be more centered, more sane, more peaceful, more generative, more kind, more connected to other people and ourselves, and more able to be helpful and of service when there are opportunities and when we can create that from the open potential that there always is. And so I think Steve and Robert themselves are very, very aware that we're living in very challenging times, and that you know, it's good to have a kind of skill set and a toolbox. And we're just part of lots and lots of different people wanting to do this. I know that. I don't think this is unique at the higher levels. I think a lot of people are wanting to find a way of bringing themselves present into the world that we're actually in, with all its crises and difficulties and apparent impossibilities. And so this is a way that I've sort of developed from the generative change principles and the work that I've done. And of course, very happy that it's been blessed and sent on its way by Robert and Steve, and also that Julian, who can't be with us this evening, has also hosting it. And and Julian is also with other people creating a kind of movement, in a way, a sort of bottom-up movement based in some of those sociocracy kind of principles for people to develop this work beyond just this training. So we're looking as well to support and train trainers to take it out to their community centers or their parent teacher group or their, whatever it might be, into their work in business. Because it's a very, very simple at one level, and yet it's sort of rather magical, bringing together of, I think, key skills. So I'm really thrilled that you've all come this evening, and I've got some slides. I hope I won't be death by PowerPoint. What I'd like to do is show you like a bit of an overview of the program and what's in the program. This is what's the program. What we've got is what's called a level 1 program. We decided, there would be like these different levels, and also because it is only 2 hours per session, obviously some of what I have in mind for each of the practices goes way beyond what I'm actually going to be able to present, but I will try and present, the heart and spirit of each of the practices week by week. And then it's like, I don't know what can happen, what can happen if we skill up, and we have these kind of value-centered intentions for ourselves, for our neighbors, for our families, for our world.
Judith, could I just say something? It's sorry, because I can't stay.
Yes.
Okay, it's Georgianne here. I've actually done level 1, but I was traveling, so I didn't. So I'm going to do it again, and I just want to recommend it because it's absolutely fantastic. And I think Judith is slightly underselling it in a way for what it is. I'm just saying this now because I can't stay. I'm just
thank you, Georgia.
I'm just connecting.
Yeah,
and I'm part of the group that did the first one and that is preparing a statement and all that, and so is Patricia actually. But I'm also because I was traveling, because I missed 1 or 2 sessions, so I'm doing the whole thing again. So
great, Georgianne, thank you.
For those of you who, I hope a lot of you will join me, because it really is, it's fantastic. And it's a movement that's just in its infancy, and it's global, and it's just wonderful. I can't recommend it enough. And, you're here, it's an amazing chance. It's the second, it's only, the second level. So yeah, I just want to say that.
We've done it, yes.
So thank you, Judith.
Thank you, Georgianne. Thank you.
I've got to go, but I will see you next week.
And I'll see you next week.
Yeah, and I really recommend it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
She hasn't paid me, but
and I haven't even paid her.
No, I just love Judith and Julian, and it's a wonderful. What Patricia would say that as well. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you
very much. Thank you. Lovely. That was great. Thank you. Well, there's a recommendation. So I'm going to show you some of the slides that I've got. And also, I just want to point out, normally I'm slightly better lit than this, but I've just had a cataract operation. So I've turned my little light around. But by next week, you'll be able to, I'll be fully, illuminated illuminating and illuminated. So this evening, what I'd like to do is show you sort of roughly some of the kind of key slides and approaches. Some of this you'll know, some of it maybe will be new to you. And then I'd like to do some, positive practice, because the program is all about practices. It's all about getting these very subtle, deep, powerful skills in the muscle so that they're there when you need them, so that in everyday life, bit by bit by bit, we do genuinely become, more creative, more empathetic, with better communication skills, with more sort of artistry and love, and we're bringing that into the world and finding out what's possible, because we don't know. This is what I mean by emergent. We just don't know what's going to be possible. So, so those are the dates. I think everybody's got this, actually. And as I say, this is tools and activities. A lot of them are from the generative change movement. And on this slide, you can see Robert and Stephen. Those of you who don't know Robert Dilt, Stephen Gilligan, there's nice little photos of them. And also there are 2 books out in the series of generative coaching. There's another one on its way and another one coming up behind that. There's 4 altogether. Very, very good, beautifully illustrated. So here we go. Why do it? This was an idea I had about sort of 5 or 6 years ago, one evening when we were sort of all out at dinner in London, saying I'd really like to do something, generative citizen. And so here we are now. So this, as I say, it's like a non-professional application, if you like, for just everyday life, being creative and bringing something of positive into the world through you, through the unique channel that is you, kind of in the everyday way. And I think also what I was trying to say, that, this is not the only way to do that, but I noticed that a lot of people are interested in finding new ways to, as it were, create reality. It's like, how are we going to dream up and create the reality, new types of reality that serve us better than some of the crises that we're living through. So yeah, to contribute positively to a peaceful world, be open to and ready for these kind of opportunities. I always love that line from Hamlet. Hamlet says, the readiness is all. And in a way, that is what this program is about. It's about, practicing and practicing and becoming skillful, so that whatever happens, wherever you see the possibilities, you kind of created the readiness in yourself, and develop our habits, our responses, so that, as I say, we're more empathetic. So here's some of the basic principles of generative change. Basically the same if you do NLP or other related kinds of change work or personal development work. We know this idea that we're kind of construing and constructing our reality. We're setting filters into the world. And we're creating expectations and then fulfilling them a lot of the time. It's this idea of predictive processing. And that being creative is really about human experience. Everything around you, everything you're wearing, everything you're thinking, it's all creativity. It's all new. It was never there before. People have come up with it. It's come up out of nothing. And so it's the absolute fundamental way of leading a human life, is a creative pathway. And in fact, often what we're doing is just recapitulating old habitual ways of doing things. But these kind of practices from generative change, I think, allow us to come to life more fresh, more present, and kind of open those filters more. I love this quote: creativity is an ever-changing emergence that arises from conversations and connections between differences, that kind of spark that you get. And then also this idea, obviously, the biggest thing is you, the common and deepest ingredient. Everywhere you go, as they say, there I am. You know, the biggest common denominator is going to be you in the positive and negative experiences of your life. So what does it mean to be generative? It means to, you know, create something, a result that's absolutely new. It's never existed before. It's about this kind of discovery and creation and enrichment, strengthening, elaboration of resources so that you can create something new. And it kind of develops in a way these sort of higher level processes. They're kind of evolutionary processes. This is also what I'm interested in, is like, how can we at this point evolve ourselves into the sort of creative impact and influence and potential that we need to. So basically, there are 5 practices over 7 weekly meetings, which are 2 hours each. They're in the evening on a Wednesday in the UK. They're at various times in other parts of the world, but we really do hope that we'll get, again, an international group, because it's so enriching for all of us. It's wonderful to learn from each other. And here are the 5 practices. Self-management, which is about this kind of self-regulation of the self, kind of healing, you know, sort of being able to be at our best, that kind of inner game, being at our best. Self-development, I'll say more about that, but it's really about, you know, therapy and kind of developing our sense of who we are, bringing out our gifts and resources more, healing our wounds, I suppose you could say. Empathy and connection and understanding of other people in the world, across divides. You know, how can we, you know, really connect to other human beings? And then obviously then communication, how can we then communicate well? I mean, if you've done NLP, you know, we have like 8, 9 communication models in different ways. You know, using language, using nonverbals, you know, taking culture into account, you know, so there's so many rich tools and models that we have that we can work from. And then the 5th one is something that I've introduced myself. And I'm still finding ways what to call it, but for the time being, it's called the Citizens Knowledge Base. And I'll explain what I mean by that, because I've got quite a particular kind of meaning for it. But you can see that there's a sort of flow and a sequence to the practices. There's one about yourself. There's one about yourself and your kind of emotional and energetic regulation. There's one about your identity and your kind of personal evolution. Then when you're kind of stable, centered, healing, and in that process, then there's something about reaching out to others and understanding and appreciating where other people are coming from and how they are constructing their realities, so that we can then communicate effectively between and across differences in ways that we really need to in our world. And then, as I say, the Citizens Knowledge Base is this kind of, as I say, I'll talk about it later, but it's really this kind of basic kind of evidence-led, you know, history, politics sort of project. So this is our first one, this idea of self-management. We'll do this practice in a moment, this kind of, some of you will know this, the coach and crash model that's been developed by Robert Dilts. Such a brilliant model about really allowing us to understand and become more aware of what we're feeling, how we're being, whether we're connected to ourselves or not, whether we're present in the present moment and awake. It's a wonderful moment, or whether we're being triggered by things. So there's a lot about self-awareness. I've also added to this self-management piece, things about the body, you know, how to work with the body and how to establish lifelong practices. I'm sure you already have some. I'm sure a lot of you already do things like meditation and Tai Chi and yoga and all kinds of maybe artistic things as well that are part of this self-regulation for you. So the coach state, this very skillful state, which I think is a lifetime project, you know, it's just a daily practice, really. It's the foundation of all the rest of the work, I think. You know, the state that you're in and that you're able to be in is the key determining factor, basically, of everything else that can happen. And it's a state of presence that can hold your pain and suffering and your joy and happiness the same, in a way. And it's not about avoiding the difficulties of life. It's about kind of humanizing our experience and integrating our experience. So it's a very, I think, a very, very profound path of self-integration and healing and bringing presence into the everyday. So the coach state is an acronym that stands for centered, open, aware, connected, and hospitable. And what that means is centered in your body and open in your mind and your heart, and aware and awake to yourself and others around you. And then also connected to your resources inside you and to resources outside of you. And then holding or hospitable to whatever is happening, whatever is arising, with a sense of curiosity and interest and welcome and resourcefulness. So that is like the inner game of generative coach, you know, the inner game of the generative consultant, you know, of the generative therapist, all the different kind of professional roles, but also just of, you know, your everyday person. And so there's things about breathing, sitting in an aligned way. We'll come and do an exercise with this, aware of our bodies, present, awake. I really love this phrase of, I think it is Robert's, relaxed readiness, focused spaciousness. So it's apparent opposites, you know, because you're relaxed, but you're also ready and awake. You know, you're focused, but there's also a sense of kind of space for you. So some of the tools we'll be working with to sustain and build and strengthen and deepen and enrich this state. Very, very simple in a way, to be able to slow down, to be able to pause, to be able to breathe, to be able to center. And so here is now the contrast with the crash. So you can see mindful or mindless, because crash stands for the C is contracted. And that is this kind of, you know, physical sense of contraction, which is also a mental sort of psychophysical sense of things, you know, of no space, of a kind of muscular tension and no thinking space. So there's that contraction. And also then you're more likely to be reactive, you know, triggered and easily upset, you know, easily angered, easily hurt. So you're more reactive, old habits, you know, old habitual triggers just around you, rather than being able to just be with whatever's happening. And then as well, the A, this analysis paralysis, where we, especially, you know, we go up in our heads, we're just churning around old thoughts. We can't seem to think you know, think new kinds of thoughts, you know, just kind of stuck in our heads. And then we're separated from our own resources. You know, we don't feel connected, we feel separated. And we're often separated from other people too, and going, well, I don't like them, or I blame them, or I shame them. You know, I'm alienated from them, and I'm also alienated from myself, or I'm dissociated from my body or something. We're just separated somehow. And that's, I think, where you do get sort of, you know, verbal and or physical and or social violence, when people are in this kind of crash mode, where people are really not at their best. Not only are they not at their best, they're starting to come out of real old survival programs where people are lashing out, or they're kind of hiding away. So you have this idea that, you know, there's this neuromuscular lock in crash. You can feel it in your body: fight, flight, freeze, fold. Problems just repeat themselves. This is what's happening when you have issues that are just repetitive. Basically, you're holding them in this kind of crash consciousness. But the creative flow comes with this more mindful, you know, open, subtle, skillful, centered way of being. And so here you see it's the underlying context of symptoms: fight, flight, freeze, fold. And in the coach state, we're able to do what Milton Erickson was able to do with people, which is welcome problems instead of trying to stop them or instantly solve them or get away from our feelings. We're really able to be present. Oh, that's interesting. It's interesting. We're curious. I'm sure it makes sense. Something needs to be heard or held or healed. And welcome. So it's a very different kind of attitude, I think, to problems within this skillful coach state, where literally, well, we know problems are going to come up, so we're going to welcome them. We're going to anticipatedly, if that's a word, welcome problems and obstacles. And also from that state, we're able to kind of sponsor ourselves and to really see other people, you know, see the resources in other people, see the unique amazingness of other human beings, and be able to believe in other people and their contribution that they would be able to make, be able to welcome other people in the world. And I really like this kind of development from Robert's belief work, where he goes, what are the three key, what you might call winning beliefs, and that help people be more optimistic, more confident, and have self-esteem. They're just, it's a very powerful in kind of holding that in the background. What else is going on in the coach state? These are kind of some of the beliefs, you know, those are also some of the possibilities and behaviors that come out of the coach state. And so what I like about the coach crash piece of personal growth, you know, tool is that you can be on that it's a calibrated scale. It's not digital where you're, you know, you're either in a bad state or you're in a good state. It's much more subtle than that, where you can bring to bear increasingly distinctions and awareness of, you know, where you are currently on a scale, with something like 7 on this scale being when you start to be at your best. You're really, really into a coach state in which you can be resourceful and creative. So we'll work a little bit with that. So then I also, in this first practice, I'd like to do something on somatic intelligence, bringing the body, you know, we're talking about neuromuscular lock. So experientially based approaches is somatic intelligence, finding things that we can actually do and bringing awareness to our bodies. We'll do some of that today so that we can have some positive reference experiences. So I just have brought this in because this is my practice that I've been doing for many, many years. which is something called the Alexander technique, which maybe not everybody's heard of, but it works very well with this kind of coach state, coach crash, awareness building and making changes, because it is about bringing awareness to your own habits, because this is really how can we get out of our own habits and reactions. So I can say more about this, on the program. Obviously, it's a very particular kind of body work that you can do. And it starts with awareness of this joint, where our head and neck joins on, and how we stand, the kind of poise and our posture and the way we move and the kind of efficiencies and grace with which we can move. Very, very interesting. And here's an amazing person who's incredibly graceful and full of poise and with absolutely incredible world-class levels of somatic intelligence. And there's another one. Beautiful. And so then that might be a kind of exercise you might do. So now the second practice is this more self-development practice. And there's lots that we can do. Originally, I thought about it as a kind of identity awakening kind of thing. There's so much from NLP, so many tools and models to help us, I mean, this is where I think this idea of developmental NLP comes in. How can we really evolve ourselves? There's so many tools. Is like, as you can see here, we'll be using the logical levels model, for example, which I haven't got here, but I will explain when we get to it. The idea of the inner world and the outer world, working with the idealized self, or working with these archetypal energies. Again, all of this will make more sense. I've got a couple of little quotes here about identity. I like this. This is by Karen Barad, who's written an amazing book called Meeting the Universe Halfway. Existence is not an individual affair. This is very much a social movement that we're interested in. Individuals do not pre-exist their interactions. Rather, individuals emerge through and as a part of their entangled intra-relating. So hopefully we'll do a little bit of entangled intra-relating, on the program. And then this is a lovely quote by Pema Chodron from her wonderful book, if you've ever come across it, called Start Where You Are. Goes, we're not as solid as we think. I love that. We're just not as solid as we think. There's enormous space in which to live our everyday lives. We see that the sense of a separate, isolated self and a separate, isolated other is a painful misunderstanding that we could see through and let go. I like that. And then obviously someone like Robert Dilts, this is kind of some of the background of doing something on personal development and identity development and personal growth. I'm sure a lot of you have come across many things which are to do with this, but finding our life's direction, managing boundaries between ourselves and someone else, becoming clear which beliefs actually support us and which don't. How can we expand our sense of ourselves? How can we incorporate kind of new dimensions? And how can we become more present in who we are? So I just put in these lovely paintings by Amy Sherald. Just because their identity, they're just sort of, I love them. They're just people being who they are. Pictures of American life. And then that would be an example maybe of an exercise we might do. So it's kind of like, kind of bringing ourselves in all our uniqueness and evolving ourselves. So the third one is empathy, developing compassion, understanding of others, if we have longer, I was saying actually to Julian last week, you know, maybe at some point we'll do a version of this where we have a whole module for every practice. And then I will bring in, you know, arts and music and improv. And I have a theatre background, so all that sort of playback theatre. We can do music, we can do dance, we can do a little bit of that. But really, we're looking at what might be a sort of fundamental thing we can put in place as a kind of foundation for building empathy. And understanding people coming from very different worlds. I really love this beautiful painting. And I think just thinking, what would it be like to paint, you know, for this to be your world and to see, to vision this. Absolutely lovely. This beautiful, here's the artist, an Indigenous Australian artist, Judith Napangadi Watson, My Dreaming. Just go back, My Dreaming. So beautiful. And then here's like a little joke about, say, what are you drawing? Oh, just a picture about how I feel. Oh, I love that. Can I see? And then here's the picture, folks. It's like, ah. So just like understanding others, finding out how other people are feeling, finding out what's going on. Here's an installation about people's experience. This is an installation on male violence by the Mexican artist, by this Mexican artist. Missing girls, very sad, but it's an amazing piece of art, I think. Kind of help, you know, art helps us, heals us, wakes us up, inspires us. It's extraordinarily powerful piece, I think. And then, of course, you know, we can look at empathy in terms of this idea of positive intention, finding the right words for something. I can come back to this. I won't go into the deep. We also have a model, perceptual positions, you know, in my position, then stepping into your position and understanding you, stepping outside and seeing what's happening in the relationship between the two of us. I imagine quite a lot of you here already know this model. And then communication, then with others, and relationship. So again, if you've done some NLP, you've got like a lot of tools and a lot of skills, but you know, we're starting with people, whether you've done NLP or not, everyone is welcome on this program. We're looking at how can you use language, how can we bridge these gaps? This was actually the graphic that inspired me, which is just the pure, you know, lack of connection between worlds, really. This is from the American election. It's who was watching what kind of news. And so you can see people are just watching their own news. They're in their own, we're all in our own bubbles, basically. And it's what's called epistemic closure. You know, I'm just in my own bubble and I'm just reconfirming all the time, because I only ever meet people and talk to people I basically more or less agree with most of the time. And so I think there's a real challenge for all of us, is how can we understand and connect and, you know, potentially transform people who've gone into maybe more of a crash state around what's happening in the world. You know, they're tightening up, they've gone into survival mode. And so again, there's lots of different tools. This is just one thing, this idea of proper naming. And this is one of Stephen Gilligan's tools. I think I really love this so much. Like, how can you use your words? How can you find the right words that really tell the truth of a situation and bring out the best in people and honors the sort of values that people are holding? It's a real art. It's a real art and a skill, and it's a practice. It's something we all have to learn on and on and on and on and on. There's no end, I don't think, to what you can learn in any of these practices. So like, you know, one using different words, one word reframes, some of these things from NLP, maybe sleight of mouth kind of things. So then here we are at the one that I've introduced, this idea of the citizen's knowledge base, which is the idea of being non-ideological, basically, and, you know, non-polarizing, but just to have something that's more, I mean, nothing's really neutral, is it, I suppose, but more evidence-led, I guess, reality-based history. And I picked there's 4 things at the moment. This is where we are. And it's plenty to take on, to kind of have some things around race, colonialism, that whole area of history and knowledge, to have something about sex and, you know, patriarchy, women's rights, etc. Have something on class, you know, poverty, inequality, structural inequalities, and to have something on climate change, environmental, you know, crisis that we're in, basically. So this is the idea that we're going into the public sphere with these kind of generative change, generative citizen skills that we're practicing on a regular basis, and sort of, you know, and we're able, and we've got some level that we're informed about what's going on in a non-ideological, non-argumentative kind of way. I don't know whether that's possible, but we'll find out. I'm a very argumentative person, so this is a great discipline for me. So this is one of the places that I started in the UK, which was, I don't know if you remember, a couple of summers ago, this statue got pulled down in Bristol and rolled down the road, basically, and thrown into the river. And so there was like a lot going on around this. And then there was an amazing, one of the activists, someone made a statue of her instead, put her on the plinth instead, and there she is in front of her statue. Unfortunately, this came down quite soon after. And then that sort of, the statue got sort of fished out of the drink and put in the museum. I'm not quite sure what's happened to him now. But anyway, so then I sort of, you know, I'm sure like lots of people who go, well, who was this person? And why did he even have a statue? And why did they pull it down? What happened next? And where is it now? And what happens now? So I think I'm sort of thinking about, so this is an example of a kind of a thing that we might be interested in. Going, this is history, this is in the UK, this is some of our history, what's happening, how could I be that little bit better informed so that, you know, I can sort of help out a little bit here and there if people are interested. I might be able to just add a little inflection or a little piece of information or a little bit of a sort of correction, error correction, or shift the kind of framing or paradigm around this, because I've taken trouble to find out. So there you would go, look up these articles or something like that. And then another little possibility that we've got a great historian called David Olusoga, who's written a lot of books, done a lot of things on the BBC about Black people in Britain. I mean, absolutely wonderful, wonderful. And all history that we in the UK, certainly I wasn't taught in our schools. And so I am sort of rebalancing my own knowledge and information and perceptions and understanding, building my map of like what has happened and correcting things. So this is another example, learning. Again, this is more UK based, but for everyone else, this is the kind of thing that you can have in your own country. You can create your own resources. I'm just giving you an example of something that, you know, might be interesting in a UK situation, but if you're in another country, you'd find your own. if you were taking this program, that's what we want people to be able to do ultimately, is kind of take it out. So be doing it yourself and then take it out under your own steam, but that we stay together as a community, working together. So this was something about the East India Company. And then this was another little thing I got interested in about the Indian princess who's a suffragette. There's a wonderful book by Anita Anand. And then this is my local museum. And there's been a big community meeting to give back some of these Benin bronzes, you know, that the British museums don't have a whole load of. So, and then on sex and things like that. Here's a great book, Invisible Women, Exposing Data Bias in a World Designed for Men. So she's just talking about the gender data gap, you know, how so many medicines and things like that are all tried out only on men, you know, crash test dummies only on men, you know, the default kind of male. And so many things have not been tried, you know, have not tested and organized around things that women need. Caroline Criado Perez. Again, this is just UK based. So I'm not trying to say we're the center of the universe, because we're definitely not. But, you know, this is an example of something that you could have your own version of. So Caroline Criado Perez is the person who put Jane Austen on one of our banknotes, and also helped create this statue of one of the suffragettes in Parliament Square, the first woman statue in Parliament Square. Courage, calls to courage everywhere. And for this, her services, she was sent, you know, thousands and thousands of death threats and rape threats, unbelievably. So these would be sort of some of the sort of resources that, you know, might sort of think about how that would happen. So these are the 5 practices working together. And here we are. So I hope that wasn't too long for everybody, and that you got some of your questions answered. So now who would like to, before we go in to do a couple of exercises with each other this evening, obviously I'd love to hear your comments, your thoughts, your questions. Everyone's very obviously super welcome to come on the program. I think we'll be sending everyone the link, I think. Anybody have comments or questions? What do you reckon? What do you think? Think it's a good idea? Are you interested? Things that you'd like to know more about, or, you know, clarifications? Lovely. Alison.
Hello.
Hello.
I just wanted to say how much I enjoyed that presentation and overview. For me, because I'm coming back into the NLP fold and family, and having had a bit of a break, really, from a work perspective. Oh, such an anchor. It just pulls at all my experiences from the old days when I went through the practitioner and master practitioner training with you. And it was such a lovely and inspiring feeling. So I am feeling, you know, very motivated, very inspired.
Oh, great.
Be involved and participate. And I did have a couple of questions about the dates. What happens if I can't be present at all of the sessions because of other commitments that are already in the diary? How do we deal with that?
Thanks, Alison. Thanks. I'm glad you felt that. So if you can't, so what we're doing on a group by group basis is we will video them on the night, and that group will have access to the videos. So you'll have access to the videos of your group. They won't go public. That'll be your group. So if you miss one, or you're late to one or whatever, or even if you just want to watch it again, because obviously there are going to be demonstrations and exercises and activities as well, and you might want to do them again, you know, with friends or whatever. You'll have the videos. Quite a few people did that last time. They couldn't quite make it all 7 in a row, but then they were able to, you know, fill in with watching the video. So I hope that means that you might be able to come, even if you can't come in person at the time, to every single one of them.
Yeah, that's very helpful and reassuring. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Marianne.
takes a second to unmute. Thank you, Judith. I really want to acknowledge the passion that came across from you in the presentation. You know, it's enrolling. Could I be like her? My question is, from the last comment, it sounds like the whole group will be divided into subgroups that will stay together for the duration of the course. So you were saying that your group will have a video just of that group. So that I was a little confused about how that works.
No, sorry, I have created confusion, Marianne. Thank you very, very much for asking that question so that I can unconfuse everybody. No, it's a bit like this evening, you know, there's a video of all of us together. So the whole program on that night will be videoed, not separate groups, the whole group, all the whole group activities. So my bit of presentation, the demonstration that I do, and questions and answers like we're doing now, all of that will be on a video. And then we will also do breakout room exercises, but they won't be on the video. It'll just be the more that whole group, just like we are now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you. Barbara.
Hi, thank you again. That was really, really very invigorating and inspiring. I wanted to make a comment that it seems to me that all over the world, all those themes are there. I live in Canada. I live in the capital area. So we have had statues that have been removed, and we are dealing with all those themes. And we're just north of our lovely neighbors, the US. So we're all intertwined and enmeshed, and I'm very excited about this. I can see applications, and I'm interested in the research components. I can certainly prepare a database for Canada, and especially I'm thinking of, we are dealing with our past, especially the Indigenous, the colonization, etc. So thank you. I'm very excited. Thank you.
Great. That's lovely. That's lovely. I'm trying to be very sort of careful with it. I'm trying for it not to be sort of political or contentious in any way. I'm deliberately trying to, in a way, almost flatten things out. So it is just purely uncontroversial, you know, research-led, kind of evidence-based stuff. It's not trying to push a line here or there. People don't have to have extra kinds of beliefs and ideals, you know. It can be something that can be really shared across anybody who comes. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Iris.
Yes, I'm a returning student. So I attended the session later last year, and I feel great. And today I return again because I got a benefit on that. I practice, I dancing, even this morning I was dancing. It was such a great course. And because from the promotion email, I heard there are some like trainers in different language.
Yes.
So I'm interested in this. I want to know more about this. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you, Iris. And, you know, you and I are having also in the middle of a conversation about that for you, because that's what we want. We want people to be able to take the program and go off and do it in their own language, in their own part of the world, with their own piece, you know, communities, that it's something that is highly portable. It does need to be skillful, though. It not really, you know, that's the main thing, that the people who are passing it along will need to have some basic level of understanding and skill. But yeah, absolutely, Iris, I'm so happy that you want to do that and do it in your own language. I'm 100% support of that, you know, and I'm looking to see how I can support people who want to do that and how they can work with me formally and informally for me to be able to support you to, you know, take it out to others. We're just working on it actually this week. I'm meeting up with Julian and Anne-Sophie this week to go, what are going to be some of the guidelines? This is all very early days. So, but that's what we really want, just to create something and then pass it along, and people can pass it along and people can use it.
Yeah, yes, I'm very excited. I just look at the link. I say, oh, they got some lesson in between, so I just not very clear. So that's why I just asked.
Yeah.
I can't wait when you are finalized.
Yeah,
Okay.
lovely, lovely, lovely. Anything else, or shall we do our first activity and then see what other things kind of come up? Yes, Graciela.
Yes, thank you. My question is related to Iris, because in the email, I'm part of the generative change movement. I'm a generative coach and creative mind coach, and I'm interested in training in my own community, in my own language also. And what I understood from the email I received is that there will be meetings after the Wednesday's meetings for those of us who want to follow the trainer's track.
Yeah, that's right.
And I would like to know a little bit more about that. I think it's connected with Iris' question.
Yes, it is very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we already have a small trainers group from last time. And so we're just starting, you know, so we just started up a tiny little trainers group. We're looking to see what they want and what they want to do with what there is so far of the materials and the input from me. And so it's all sort of possible, really. We've got 3 people at the moment who are going to take it, particularly not as a standalone program in and of itself. We're talking about that just this week, as I say, but we've got somebody who's going to take it into business and weave it into what they already do. Somebody who's going to take it into health and medicine. They're a doctor. They're going to take it into what they do. Someone who's going to work with a group of older women in a community center and weave it into a program that she's going to do with them. So there is quite a lot of options and possibilities there. And if you join us, you'll be part of creating them as well. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Are we having meetings like for the trainer track? Because there is a trainer track, and I think I may have forgotten. Meetings is not my greatest strength. Let's put it that way.
Thank you very much.
I mean, I'm good at them, but I sort of haven't really thought about it. I've been thinking more about this. Okay, so let us do an activity. If everybody just, let's all just take a moment, because everyone's been staring at a screen for an hour. We need to move. If you can get up, let's just kind of get up and kind of, have the chance just to kind of move around, just sort of stretch and let your shoulders ease out and your jaw and whatever else you kind of need to do just to be able to, because it's not good for us to sit and sit and sit, especially if any of you have been already sitting at work all day. So have a chance just to kind of loosen off. And I'm just going to take all of us through this sort of coach state. And then what we'll do is we'll come and sit back down again afterwards, and I'll do a demonstration with somebody on it. And then you'll get the chance to go into a pair and have a go yourselves. So the coach state is really so that you can feel your body. You don't have to be still, but you can feel your body. Do whatever you need to do right now to kind of fully inhabit your body and to feel your legs and feel your feet on the ground. If you're standing, if you're sitting, you can be sitting and feel your feet and just sense the sort of physical reality of your body. Just let your attention move upwards through your legs and up through your belly and your chest and up the shoulders and down the arms and hands, up into the neck and jaw and head, so that you just give yourself the chance to come present in the living moment, in the embodied fully embodied kind of way that we are. We are a mind body. We're not just a brain in a box, you know, with a kind of with a body hanging off it. You know, we think with our whole bodies, and we come present in our lives through all of us. So the COACH acronym is this idea of being centered. So you might think of being centered as having this kind of central line where you can drop your weight down at the belly center. Those of you who've done martial arts or done Tai Chi or something like that, or done any kind of even dance or something, will know that, just that sort of slight bounce in the knees, and you can feel your weight go down a bit. So you can bring that sense of breathing out and releasing, widening, releasing, lengthening the spine down towards gravity. And then with this spring that our physiology allows us to do up against gravity. So our spine is lengthening in two directions, and the back is widening. And feel you can just soften your face and your eyes and your jaw and your neck and shoulders, especially if you've been staring at computers all day. So that's C for centering, O for opening. So once you're able to be centered in yourself, then you're able to open your heart, open your mind, and then start to be aware and pay attention to what's happening inside you, your thoughts, your feelings, what's happening in your body, and being aware of what's happening in the world outside you. So you're really in the present moment with your experience and the way that you're creating your experience. And so then the next C is for connected. So you can feel, just sense your resources, your energy, your capacity for so many things, your capacity for your strength and your heart energy, compassion, and your humor of lightness. Those three archetypal kind of energies, that sort of connecting to your resources, both on the inside, the inner game, the outside, the outer game. And then able to be with, to hold, to be hospitable with whatever comes up. And just notice what that's like for you. Center, open, aware, connected, hospitable to whatever arises. This very special state, breathing, slowing down, just connecting, pausing, centering. So you can come home to yourself and sense your reality. You're breathing in and you're breathing out in this moment. And so let's come back, if you want to come and sit back down. And I'm wondering if someone would like to do a demonstration with me on the coach date, the crash date, and then we will do an activity together. Who would like to do that? It's just a very simple, simple thing. Because of course we all crash 1,000,000 times a day. Or is that just me? I mean, it's just natural. It's just human to go into that crash state every now and then. Okay, Zoe, lovely. So Jihan, are you able to put us both, are you able to pin us and put us together for people to see? That would be lovely. Thank you. And to unmute Zoe.
That working?
Ah, okay, so I can't.
Judith, I can see it. The screen is split in front of me, but I am not sure how can I do this for everyone.
Yeah, okay, not to worry. We'll work with what we've got, Jihan, not to worry about it at all.
Yeah. I don't know if you can spotlight her.
Yes.
I'm fine not being spotlit.
Yeah.
Take a moment.
Continue.
Oh,
yeah, that's a bit.
Well,
huge.
I've got her. I can see her Tintin poster now. Oh, no, she's gone.
Now I've added both spotlights, so you both should be appearing together on the screen.
Ah, here we are. Here we are. There we are. Brilliant. So, Zoe, how are you?
I'm okay.
Good. So I know that you already yourself do, you know, meditation and things like that, don't you? You already have your own way of getting into a coach state. And obviously on the program, we'll be exploring also people's own ways of doing this. There isn't some kind of special recipe or something. It is people have got their own way home to themselves. And I'm wondering what you do when you really feel you're very centered and very present and awake in this relaxed readiness, focused spaciousness kind of way.
I have found that when I want to get into a coach state, I don't do martial arts or anything, but going into a kind of low position.
Yes.
And feeling the energy with my hands as I push my hands down and I bring my hands up. So there's a feeling of rounding down.
Yeah, lovely.
And then bringing energy up from the ground as well.
Great, I love it. Yeah. So let's just do that together, first of all. So I just say to the group, this is one of the principles of the generative change movement, that working with another person as well in this way, in this context, that we'll both go into a coach state and create a kind of coaching container between us. So take a breath and do your...
I'm wondering whether I should have volunteered for this, Judith, because I'm in a bit of a crash state at the moment. Is that bad timing?
It's fine. It's fine. Do you want me to help you a bit more then? Kind of just...
Maybe.
Yeah, well, let's do that. Give me a number. What number crashed it? If we were looking at that little line, crash to coach, where are you?
What
number would you be? You don't have to tell us the content.
What's maximum crash?
Maximum crash. It would be 0, I guess.
So
that
I'm
would be
1.
like terrible.
I'm going to give it a 1.
Oh my dear. All right. Or 2. Okay. So I'm wondering, so who knows what's possible? Honestly, we just don't know, Zoe, what's going to be possible this evening. But I'm wondering if there's, I mean, we can do this several ways. There are very, you know, there's always, I mean, that's the lovely thing about the generative change process, is that it is a creative process. There's multiple options about absolutely everything. So I'm wondering for you whether it would be interesting to see if we can just capture, even if it's just for a moment, a kind of good coach state for you, just as a reference point, and then kind of come back to this one and see if we can then close the gap. Just so that you've got, I know, because you already have in your nervous system, you kind of already know what a coach state is. But I want to also acknowledge your crash state, that you say it's like a 1 or a 2. And I'm, you know, and we'll see if we can inch it up even by 0.1 0.001%.
Yeah, sounds good.
Kind of, it's all about heading in the right direction, I think, Zoe. Sometimes that's all we can do, isn't it? It's kind of like turn and face, how we could come home back to ourselves. There's nothing wrong with being in a crash state. It's just that you don't then have your own resources available to help you in this situation. So I'm wondering, and don't do anything that doesn't feel right, but I'm wondering, let's think of a time when you felt a bit better, just for a moment, when you did feel something that you kind of go, oh, then I was more at my best. Maybe it was even yesterday. Maybe it's next week. Maybe it's next year. Maybe it was 10 years ago. I'm wondering if you've got like a reference experience where you go, oh yeah, that was, I could just about do that, a bit of that one this evening. I could just taste it so that I know where I'm going. I've got a sense of direction where I'm breathing. And just bring your chin down a little bit so that you can just be with your body. That's right. And take a breath and kind of feel kind of the strength and the beauty of your body and the presence of being a human alive right now. What do you, is that just coming a little bit? Lovely. What will intensify it just a tiny, tiny little bit, as I say, like a 0.01? What would just take it a little bit more in that direction, do you think? You're your own best resource on this, I'm sure.
Maybe my movement.
Yeah, the movement will do it, won't it? So just giving yourself time and space, Zoe, just to really do the movements that help you and reconnect you to your resources. That's right. That's right. And again, just make sure that you're not locking your neck and your head, that your head and neck and shoulders are free. And you can just release whatever off your chest, as they say, just for now, just temporarily. Okay. Just on a temporary basis, let's just find a way to feel comfortably in your body, connected to yourself. As Robert Dilts always says, the biggest resource, the only resource you'll ever need is you. It's a great thing, isn't it, to say that? Yeah. And kind of sense your strength, your warrior strength that I know you have. To sense your heart energy, your love and compassion, which you have. To sense your lightness, your lovely sense of humor and sparkliness. And just take a breath. Do those movements one more time. Beautiful. And now what number would you say on the little line would you say that you have managed to get to?
4.
4. Wonderful. Well done. That's an amazing achievement. Take a breath and just let it out. I'm wondering what would allow you to get to a little bit nearer to 5, because we'd like to direct you up to 7 if we can. We may not get there this evening, but let's just see. What would take you a tiny smidge further up? Do you need to move? Do you need to sing a song? Do you need to what would help you?
A gin and tonic?
A gin and tonic? Well, even the thought of having a gin and tonic, notice what it already does for you.
It's humor, yeah.
Yeah, it's humor, but also, that's something that already releases something, doesn't it? What do you notice is happening in your shoulders and in your head and neck?
Do you know what I notice most of all, apart from the cortisol coursing through my neck and shoulders?
Yeah.
Is constriction in my throat.
Yeah.
It's like a frog in my throat.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know how to release that.
Yeah.
That's where it's all accumulating.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's start by just releasing a little bit in the jaw. And a little bit at the back of, because you have a tendency just to tip your head a bit back. Just sort of just at the back of your neck, just see if you can just do a little bit of massage in those ligaments and muscles, just that are holding your head onto your neck and your spine, and just see what happens if you do that. And just roll your shoulders a little bit so you can actually open out more in a natural way across the chest. And then just bring your eyes back down. That's nice. And bring your head back down. Can you see what you, so that you're taking your head up and just bring it back down again. So where are you now? What number are you? What number is this? You've had your gin and tonic.
Maybe a 5.
A 5. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to say to the class, so the exercise really is to take someone in a coach state and then compare it to a crash state, but we haven't yet managed to quite get to a coach state. Let's see. I'm just going to spend a little bit more time on this, and then I will set up an exercise anyway. But so what's really nice is you're giving us the opportunity to go, how can we dig ourselves out of a hole, you know, and head in a better direction? Because what's going to take you from 5, you know, what's that pathway? And it's not to say that whatever has happened has not happened, because obviously it has, you know, whatever it is, that's present. But how can you hold it and be present with that experience in a more resourceful way? It's welcome. Your crash state is welcome. I'm sure it makes sense. You know, it makes sense, doesn't it? And something does need to be heard, and something does need to be healed. Welcome. How can we allow you to be welcoming of whatever has happened in a way that is more resourceful, so that you can kind of metabolize it more, you know? You can be with that. You can be present to your own feelings and your own experience.
I think from what comes to mind is, I can hear my daughter singing in the background. Gratitude for what I do have.
Yeah.
And a sort of, my mind is just whirring. So just letting my mind, you know, just focusing on what you're talking about is taking my mind off of my thought spiral. So already, you know, is a sort of, and maybe
quietening down.
Yeah,
that's right.
Settling.
Quietening down the system.
Yeah.
With your daughter in the background singing, which I love that. That you're quietening down, and now you quieten so you can hear something fun going on, something delightful going on. Yeah. So what number on that little scale would you say you are now?
I mean, I honestly don't think, even with your magic, Judith, I'm not sure I'll get to a 7, but I definitely feel like I'm at a 6.
Well, that is a miracle in and of itself.
It is a miracle. If you knew what had just happened before this call, you would. It is a miracle.
Well, and it's your miracle. It's your miracle. It's not my miracle. It's your miracle. It's you kind of reconnecting to yourself, allowing yourself to kind of calm down and center and quieten down all the noise, as you say. what does it make more possible for you to be able to, even for a moment, Zoe, I completely see that this is going to come and go for you right now. That's fine. That's human. You're a human being. I'm like this too. We all are. It's very familiar to all of us to kind of go, oh, I'm just in this zero, minus zero, you know, crash state. I'll never get home to myself. And then going, oh, I did a little bit. Now I'm able to quieten down more. Beautiful, really beautiful what you've been able to show us. I'm wondering, what does it start to make more possible for you this evening? Just to have had a bit of support. Second.
Perspective.
Oh, right. Okay. Perspective.
And I feel like the situation which caused me to crash is not the end of the world.
Okay, great.
And
wow.
Yeah.
And take a breath and let it out. I know that's not everything, but it's quite a lot just for a few minutes together.
Yeah. And just to say, Judith, and then I'll stop talking, but it's very powerful to hear you say, you know, I welcome your crash state.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
It's strangely empowering to hear that.
Isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah. I think this is one of the great principles of this work. And it comes right from Erickson, you know, going, yeah, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. It's life. Welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome, welcome. Great. Thank you so much, Zoe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Come back to the gallery view. So that's Coach Crash. I mean, in a way, the exercise is to get an example of Coach and then an example of Crash and see if the person is able to kind of move from Crash to Coach with some input and feedback, back and forth conversation. And of course, it requires for the coach to be in coach state as well. So who knows what's possible, but would you like to have a go at that with somebody? You don't have to, you know, you can take something minor and find out what can happen. Start off in the coach state together and then ask them, do you have an example of something where you've crashed a little bit, maybe in the last few days? And then see if they can hold that crash in the coach state. It's welcome. It doesn't, nothing to change. It's fine. We're just going to hold it and welcome it from a different kind of organization in ourselves. Any questions about the exercise? I'm going to give you like 5 minutes each way. So 10 minutes in a pair together, just to do something practical with this and meet someone else, you know, from this evening, because we haven't had a chance to yet.
I am creating rooms. Judith.
Lovely, Jihan. Thank you.
You're welcome. So
there's pairs. A few people are ducking out, which
yes,
is fine.
I'm waiting so that I can have it updated because the rooms are being created automatically.
Okay, lovely. And if when you get to your room, there's no one there, we'll move people around so that you've got a partner and spend some time together.
Yeah.
It's just such a lovely process though, the coach state, and then noticing what can happen with even a little bit of crash. I love that, what Zoe said, you know, I've got more perspective. It's not the end of the world, you know. It's bad, obviously, but, you know, and how empowering it was to have that state just welcomed into our evening, welcomed into our lives too. Okay, how are you doing, Jihan?
I think we have the final number almost. One just.
Okay.
So I think it is best to do it now again. It's weird that I still have. Oh, the number of rooms have been chosen. Forgive me just a second, please.
Okay. And everyone can have a go. And it really doesn't matter what happens, just, you know, whatever happens, we'll come back and talk about it.
We have just one person extra, so there will be one group that contains 3 people.
Okay, well, that
That is
person could go
okay.
in with in a group that has Zoe in, because she's had a go. So,
Yes, it is in the group that Zoe is.
okay, lovely. Thank you. So can you send
Open the
us
rooms.
into the groups? Lovely. Thank you.
I'll pause the recording.
Okay, so let's hear from everyone. How did you get on? And is there anything else you want to know? Obviously, on every evening, we'll do at least 2 activities. So there will be demonstrations, at least 2 activities related to the practice, etc. So we'll bit by bit sort of build capacity through the 7 weeks. And build relationship and friendship with each other, and hopefully have a great time. So who wants to start? Let's hear from everyone, because that's just nice. Let's hear from everyone. Give us your name and where you are and how you got on with the exercise, and you know, how's it going for you? Do you want me to sort of call people out, or shall I? Let's start with you, Marcus, and then you can call the next person. Who are you? Where are you? And how did you get on in the exercise? And is there anything else?
Hi, yeah, Marcus here. Yeah, I really enjoyed the exercise, and I think it kind of, for me, it kind of started when once you'd done the presentation, you was like stand up, and it was like it kind of just broke my kind of trancey-like state. And then when you went into the exercise with the lady before, I kind of thought, I'm going to kind of do my own process of what kind of takes me home.
Yeah.
So I was kind of doing that for a while, and it just really brought me into that really kind of open, spacious place.
Yeah.
And then in the exercise, then in the breakout room, we kind of both, you know, we were having a chat really about our own crash states and our coach state and what we would do to kind of get into it.
Yes.
And then I just found it really to do it in a kind of a slow, conversational way. And what came up for me was like, you know, when I think about how many times I go into a crash state, but then I don't use the stuff that pulls me out of it. It's almost like there's a part of me or something in me when in the crash state that doesn't want to come out of it, or kind of wants to almost enjoy it a bit. But I know how dark that could probably sound, but when I actually do these sorts of exercises, you know, for me personally, it can pull me out of it pretty quickly. And it's like, if I just did more of that, when I have these states, I've been in a better state more of the time.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. I love that, Marcus. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you.
So interesting, isn't it? It's so interesting, our own subjective experience all through the day, you know, and the choices that we make and the habits that we've got. And it's all absolutely fine, really. But it is also nice to know that you're at the same time on a kind of pathway to be more at your best and be able to, even when you do crash, you know, as we were saying, to be able to welcome, kind of go, oh yeah, oh, there you are. There's a lovely thing that the monk, you know, Thich Nhat Hanh says. I don't know whether this is maybe too much, but he says, hello, my suffering. Hello, there you are. Welcome. You know, it's like saying, hello, my friend. You know, there's that feeling again. Yeah, it's okay. It's all right to have it. Thank you, Marcus. That was great.
Thank you.
Alison, did you have your hand up as well then, just then?
Yes, sorry, Judith. I was having technical problems. I couldn't hear you, so I've had to reboot, so I missed the first bit of that conversation, but I'm
Okay.
fine now. Sorry.
All right. And how are you? How did that go for you?
Very good. I enjoyed it. Yes, I was paired up with Dougie, and he was a very, very amenable participant. So it went very well. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, great. And Dougie, how are you?
Evidently very amenable. So that's nice.
Great word.
Nice to hear. I'll have it. I'll take it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had the time I spent with Alison. She was very able to identify some physical, calibrating my physicality around
Great.
where I might be holding the state, and it was with quite an interesting conversation about how I might actually hold it in what parts of my body.
Yes.
Which was around my sort of face head area.
Yes.
And yeah, and actually what I do to come out of a crash state
Yes.
is actually
Yes.
around, as I'm around movement, mostly outside and walks and so on.
Yeah. Yes.
And that transfers it, I get moving into the coach state into more of my upper body and,
Lovely. Yeah.
And even having the conversation, Alison identified that actually even describing it, I was falling into the unconsciously my body was matching it. So, albeit quite a short conversation, it was quite insightful to build on to what you've been demonstrating for a good chunk of the evening, really. So yeah.
Yeah, great. I think it is, Dougie, isn't it? It's that awareness, isn't it? Like you're building awareness. And as you do that, you start to see there are more choices than you thought you had about how to make even little changes and just kind of move your energy around and move those filters around and quieten down the noise, all of those things.
Yeah, and try different things and try different things. Just be more aware of your physicality and what you're doing.
Yeah, great. Who else? Who else would like to? So I'm looking at Franz.
Yeah.
How are you, Fran?
Yeah, no, I'm feeling good. I'm just a bit tired because it's quite late and I've had a long day. But I had a lovely session with Gracilia.
Lovely.
So, it was very nice. And it's just really lovely to be here and, people wanting to make these changes in the world for people. It's what we need.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. I love that, what you just said about, hello, my suffering.
Yeah.
I believe that love transcends everything, and the Christ love. And it's only the truth will set us free. And so when we can acknowledge that truth, it changes. And it changes for the better. So it's really lovely. Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Thank you. Good. Beth, how are you? So I'm just moving around my screen so that everybody's got a chance to say a little something, whatever you want to just chuck into the evening. It would be lovely to hear from everybody as you've met some people, but mainly not. Beth, how are you tonight?
Really good. I was initially in a room by myself, but Jihan sorted that for me. I put me in with Barbara and Simon, which was really nice because I know Barbara from generative coaching and creative mind.
Wow.
Simon was newer to the work. So we kind of went round in a three and each shared something about coach state or how we connect and relax. So
great.
So it worked quite well.
I think that's so nice because everybody can kind of learn from each other because there's no end really to how many different ways this can be done. Thank you. Zoe, how are you right now?
Yeah, good. I've actually found that doing the coaching helped me get to a 7. So there you go.
Oh, well done. Well done.
It's really good. It was lovely.
Yeah, great.
Very inspiring actually to hear Rachel's coach state and to think about how that I could also use that.
Yes. And Rachel, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Zoe. Yeah, it was really powerful, actually, really, really powerful exercise for me. It was funny going into it. I was feeling really strongly that I had two states going on at the same time, like this underlying crash, and then a feeling of quite a strong superficial coach, or not superficial, just a, I don't know, a coach state as well somehow. And then with Zoe, I don't know, just they I don't know, it was just very interesting and very powerful how they work together, I suppose, how they you know, one propels the other along. I don't know, there was something about the two states working together. I don't know how to explain.
Yeah, something happened anyway.
Something happened, and it was good.
And it was good, exactly. Thank you, Rachel. So we've got about a couple more minutes. Who else has? Simon, how about you? How are you doing this evening? You'll need to put your switch onto,
Sorry, Judith. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Yeah, it was a really interesting, but perhaps all too brief little exercise. Thanks to Barbara and Beth for helping me through that.
Yeah.
I've been getting stuck a lot recently, and it was just it's really interesting to look at that idea of a 0 to 10.
Yeah, isn't it?
And being aware that you have both states.
Yes.
Perhaps happening at the same time, actually. And having crashed this morning and then gone to my special place in the woods and explaining that sort of, that's my happy space.
Yeah, lovely.
Just actually sharing that notion with complete strangers was powerful, actually.
Yeah.
And it triggered the other two in a nice way as well. So
fantastic.
That's a good thing.
Thank you. Yeah. And who hasn't? Barbara and then Graciela.
There, thank you. That was wonderful. The three of us, Beth, Barbara, and Simon, and we couldn't see Simon, so we introduced ourselves. We did the circle, and then we gently went into coach, and then gently went out. And Simon encouraged us with his happy place, his sacred spot, and we all worked with that, and with our own filters, transformed it. It was quite interesting.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
The power of connection, isn't it? Sometimes that's just all you need, is sort of someone else to be present with you, and you come back to yourself again.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sadie, are you still there? Right. Hey, how are you? Oh, I can't hear you. I think you might have to put your unmute yourself. There you go.
I've done it. Okay.
How are you doing?
Hi, yeah, good. I had a lovely chat with Marcus.
Great.
I nearly volunteered to talk to you at the beginning. I'm so glad I didn't, because I just thought I don't know what I do. And then the minute I spoke to Marcus, I realized what I do. And I write things down mentally, like I'm writing an email, and I have write it and rewrite it. And it can take me up to 2 days to process someone that's triggered me until I get it out of my system. And it really, really works. But what was especially interesting is Marcus practices Reiki, which I've had, and I found it only once, but really a powerful, well, basically I cried my eyes out, but it was a big sort of release of emotion. But he practices on himself, and I was just dying to hear more about how to do that. And that's a big part of it, apparently. So absolutely, I want to know more about that, Marcus.
Great.
Thank you for talking to me. It's lovely.
And Graciela, just very briefly, so we're right at the
Yes. We had a wonderful interaction with Fran. The conversation for me was flowing like this, so it was really, really nice experience. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Yeah, well, and me, thank you all. Thank you, Jihan, for helping drive the bus this evening. Do join up if you'd like to come. You'd be most welcome. There's a lot, there's lots of lots of content, lots of things to learn, lots of things to enjoy, and a group to enjoy them with. You know, it is a little community of itself, this little 7-week program. And, you know, I'm looking forward to doing the next one very much. I hope that you'll come and join us. And thank you for coming this evening. And if anybody's got any extra questions, I'll sort of stay for a little while just now, if that's all right with you, Jihan. And anybody's got any questions, but otherwise, lots and lots of love, everybody. Lovely to see you. Thank you, Zoe, for doing an amazing demonstration for us and sharing that with us. Very grateful. And yeah, lots of love. Have a lovely week, everyone. And
Thank you, Judith.
See you soon.